So today we're talking about how we can reduce pressure. So when you're under pressure, you often feel very pessimistic. And when you hear that pessimistic voice in yourself, I want you to be curious about it. I want you to say, is it permanent? How long is this going to last? Some aspects may be permanent, but not all. So I want you to ask yourself, is this really going to go on forever? And if I bring up something like, death, well, obviously death is permanent, but grief is still temporary. So the reality is permanent, but the feelings will change over time. And so it's not permanent. Is it pervasive? And that means how widespread is it? Is it absolutely every aspect of my life that's going bad? Or actually it's only some part. Maybe it's my relationship with my boyfriend, but actually I love my work. Or maybe I'm having a problem with my work, but I have a wonderful family life and have great friends and I get to enjoy the weekends. So how widespread is it? And what about power? Have you been able to try everything? So what could you do if you could change it? What's one thing you could do to make a difference, to make you feel better? So let's now look at how being optimistic could be better than being pessimistic. So thinking optimistically, it doesn't mean ignoring negative things that are going on in your life, pretending that they're not happening, or just being happy all the time. We call that now false positivity. It's not about that. But instead, when some people have good things that happen to them, optimistic people will think, well, that happened because I did something good. And because I did something good, I expect good things will happen in the future. And they can consider ways that these experiences will lead to better success in their life. And if you think about if you've ever been praised by a boss, for example, boss comes and says, oh, you did a great job on that spreadsheet, Diane. Well, if Diane was thinking optimistically, she would say, well, that's because of my abilities. I actually researched it, I did some work, and I worked out how to do it. And so then she would believe that more positive things could happen in the future as well. People who think optimistically tend to experience less stress and they cope better. They're more resilient and they're more successful in their careers, and they tend to actually be physically and mentally healthier, and they can live longer as well than people who are pessimistic. And so there are 3 ways you can practice to be more optimistic. And the first one on the screen here is yet, the power of yet. Sometimes we tell ourselves, I can't do something. I'll never be able to do that. But when I say I can't, I'm putting up a wall. I'm never going to be able to do this. But if I say I can't do that yet, it opens a door for future improvement. You know what? Yet means I can look into it and I can try and do it. Practicing gratitude. What in your life are you grateful for and why? When you're doing what you're grateful for, it's always really important to also say why. And practicing gratitude, it helps us to move forward, helps us to appreciate the people in our lives, what they do for us, but also we can be grateful for our health, our skills, our abilities, and that helps us to think that we deserve better in life and we can move forward. And then the last one is PPEP, which is what we're going to be talking about, and TIE, okay? And so that PPP, permanent, pervasive, powerless versus TIE, temporary, isolated, and effort. And so a moment ago we said permanent. How long is it going to last? Is it going to go on forever, or how am I going to feel about this in 1 week, 1 month, 1 year? Sometimes when we put timelines on these things, we go, oh, you know what? Actually, in another month, this is really not going to be a big deal at all. And so if we start to think about things as not being permanent, but being temporary, it's not going to last for ever. And how am I going to feel about this next week? Pervasive. Is it absolutely everything in your life? Or actually, is it just isolated? This is not going to impact my whole life. It's just happening at work. And I get to spend, time in the evenings with my family and friends, which I really enjoy. So it's only isolated to one part of my life. And then am I powerless to do anything to fix this? Or with some effort, could I actually do something? With some effort, can I make things better? And so thinking of these TIE, temporary, isolated, and having effort, it helps us to change our situation, helps us to be more optimistic, and being more optimistic certainly helps us to move forward.